Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. A primary side effect of the narcissistic pattern of life is they prove to be very inept when it comes to making personal adjustments. Narcissists tend not to learn. They specifically don't have very strong analytical skills, especially when it comes to coming to terms with emotional and relational difficulties. Now, I want you to think, every one of us going all the way back into our childhood can say, yeah, I had some things that went right. I had some things that did not go right. And as you enter into your adult years, hopefully you can have a lot of self-examination and reflective thinking. And you can ask, well, what have I learned so far in my life that makes sense? And what have I learned in my life that has not really been all that helpful? And you can sort out the pluses and minuses, and you can come to terms with who you want to be and the mindset that's going to guide you in your adult years, particularly the years between 18 and 24. That's when we begin the years of adulting. You learn to develop some of your own adult identity, and it continues all the way through life. Narcissists, though, instead of going into that self-reflection mode, they just simply look for people to blame. They complain a lot. They look for scapegoats whenever strains and difficulties come along. They hold on to their childish selfishness. They must be in control. They've decided that's the way that you wind up having a good life. Go figure. The more you can control everybody, then you win. And as a result, they're exploitive and manipulative, defensive. They have little regard for other individuals. And as a result, the pattern that already started way early in life of developing a false self just deepens, and it continues all the way through the adult life. And what's worse, they blame you for whatever problems that you point out to them about who they are. Now, what I want to do is I want to zero in on 8 of the most common life skills that narcissists simply cannot come to terms with. And it's important for you to see what they're not coming to terms with, because like I say, they want to blame you. And I'm hoping that the more you understand why they're stuck and what causes them to remain as they are, then the more it can motivate you to go into the different path. Now, the first life skill that narcissists cannot come to terms with at all is when there are problems or strains and difficulties, they cannot admit their own character defects. Whenever you have differences, your character is on display. You're going to be guided by the ingredients that are on the inside. Narcissists immediately go into stubbornness. They go into closed-mindedness. They become argumentative and emotionally dysregulated. And when you say, hey, you've got to take responsibility for who you are, it's like, no, my character's fine. My problem is you. And so instead of saying, yeah, I do need to look at those ingredients on the inside of my character, they just simply say, my life would be better if you could get your act together. If your character would fit what my needs are, I'm going to be just fine. They can't come to terms with their own inner character issues. A second basic skill that narcissists simply cannot master is they cannot resist the urge to criticize. Narcissists themselves were on the receiving end of lots of judgments and criticisms in their early years, and they learned that the name of the game is shame and judgment and guilt and who gets to pronounce what on the other individual. And so they've decided, okay, I know that there are people in my world who like to judge and criticize me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to win at that game by becoming the one who pronounces it on other individuals. Rather than thinking, hey, you know what, that whole system of thinking and judging and criticizing is kind of bankrupt. No, they just double down and they decide I'll be the winner in that game. And so they stay inside that space of judgment and shame that they learned very early in life. A third skill that they just cannot master, and that is they cannot be objective in the midst of disagreements. You know, if you're not in agreement with someone else, no matter how wrong that other person seems to be, you could think, well, that person has a perspective that clearly doesn't match with mine. I wonder what it is. What's going on in that situation? Or what's the backstory? Or why am I being so triggered? And what's going on inside of me? But instead, narcissists in the midst of disagreements operate with a type of paranoia. What are you doing to me? Why are you thinking this way? Are you out to make my life miserable? And because of that, then they operate with a lot of tension and anxiety. Objectivity goes flying out the window. Subjectivity completely takes over. Now, a fourth skill that they cannot come to terms with is they cannot let go of a competitive mindset. I wonder how many times you've been talking with a narcissist and you've kind of felt like, hey, look, I'm not trying to one up or one down you. And yet that's the game that narcissists will play. I mean, it can be something as simple as you saying, I went to a favorite restaurant of mine, and they say, well, you want to know the best restaurant there is in town? And they have to one up you on that. Or it could be that you have an idea or a preference or opinion. Theirs is always a little bit better. And rather than them thinking, well, I have my thoughts and preferences and so do you, why don't we just treat each other as equals and see if we can learn from one another? They can't do that. They turn so many different conversations into a one up, one down competitive game. It's unnecessary, but that's a skill that they just have not learned to dismiss. A fifth skill that they cannot master is they cannot develop an appreciation for your unique qualities. You know, as you engage with other individuals, hopefully you're going to notice not everybody thinks the same. Variety is built into the entire human experience. You think differently from me. I think differently from you. What can we learn from one another? Now, narcissists may want to learn about some of your unique qualities if they think that they can exploit it for their own personal gain. But as a general rule, they lead in their engagements with others with the question that says, why would I care to know what's important to you? You don't really matter that much. And so they don't really appreciate what others can, in a healthy way, bring to their life. A sixth skill that they cannot master, and this is a really big one, and that is they can't manage their own personal emotions. Now, often you're going to pick up on the anger and you're going to be on the receiving end of a lot of their anger, or just their underlying tension or stress or anxiety. You'll notice that what narcissists will do is they'll put heavy pressure on the outside world. If these people would act differently, if I had different circumstances, if the timing had been different, then I'd be okay. And they completely overlook the fact that sometimes the external world doesn't line up at all, and you have to go to your internal resources to draw upon so that you can be a more effective individual. But narcissists are just stuck with the thought that says you need to get your act together so I can feel satisfied. That's their coping skill. A seventh skill that they cannot come to terms with is, and this is another large one, they cannot think or communicate with freedom in mind. Narcissists will approach you and people, other individuals and events with a hard agenda. There's a fixed way things are supposed to be, as opposed to saying, I have my preferences and my priorities, my ideas, but I know you do too. Why don't we talk with one another in a way where we can freely share and discuss and talk about who we are and what we feel? And I can tell you so many stories about narcissistic individuals when I say something like, hey, why don't you let that other person have the freedom to determine who they want to be? They'll look at me like I'm the biggest idiot on earth. You want me to let other people be free? My reaction is, well, they already are. Why don't we just go ahead and acknowledge that and see if we can make it work on our behalf? Actually, when you acknowledge someone's freedom, there's a compliment, and you can actually go places with that. They can't think like that. That's your freedom scares them. And then an eighth skill that they simply cannot master is narcissists cannot be authentic. They're too busy hiding behind their own tightly constructed false self. Their strategy is accentuate my positives and then hide anything else. They just simply can't be honest about who they are. So we go back and we ask, how often have you questioned in your mind, why is it that I just simply can't get through to this person? What can I say or what can I do that will make things a bit different? But let's keep in mind, you can plead your case, you can coerce, you can argue, you can appease, you can rebel, you can collapse. There are all sorts of responses you can have to that non-insightful narcissist. But no matter where you go, that's how they're going to be. It's not about you. They want to make it about you, but it's them choosing not to learn and not to introspect. A lack of introspection is part of their package. And so that being the case, it brings you back to a primary task in your response to them, and that is, well, what about me? Can I learn? And am I able to take some of the experiences that I'm having and ask, what is helpful here and what's not helpful? And then can I make my adjustments, or do I just go ahead and play along with the game that the narcissist establishes? I'm hoping that you can decide, someone in this equation needs to be an adult, and I'm going to be that individual. Narcissists have chosen not to be adult-like in the way that they engage with you. They remain in a childish state. And that being the case, I'm hoping you can decide, I can't afford to struggle with an underdeveloped whiner and complainer and malcontent. I'm on Team Healthy, and I'm committed to a lifetime of growth and learning. Now, the videos such as this can give you some good food for thought and can remind you what you're dealing with and how you can respond in the healthiest ways. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. I know that many of you would have a need when you're trying to figure all this out to seek some therapy. And as I'm talking here, I'm thinking so many counseling cases I've had with individuals who've had to deal with the very thing that I'm talking about here. If you do have a need for therapy, know that I'm sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy service, and it's become very popular and we know now that it's very effective ever since the pandemic. So if you do have that need, we have a link below that will take you to their website. You fill out a couple of forms. If you sign up with them through the link, then you'll get a 10% discount on the first month. Please seek the assistance if that's something that you would need. Also, go to my website, www.survivingnarcissism.tv. You're going to see lots of articles. We have my courses there, and they're very extensive. Each course has multiple videos, like 25 or more, with guided questions, a lot of written documents. We have Ready, Set, Connect. This is me, about boundaries, free to be finding yourself. We have lots of articles and my webinars that are on there. So lots of resources for you. I have my books, etc. So please take advantage of the resources that are there. And thank you for letting me be part of your journey. Okay, I'm hoping that you're the kind of person that says, I do want to learn. I do want to introspect. And then when you look over that narcissist and it just becomes more and more clear, they're not on the same page, and they never will be. In that case, then I'm hoping it causes you to say, well, in fact, I am going to be that person that's committed to growth. And if it means that I have to leave them in my rearview mirror, so be it. But I want to be on a forward progress in my life. And in doing so, I hope that it prompts you to say, I'm committed to my own steadiness because I want to be a person of peace.